Stephen D. Maurer is remembered for his unwavering commitment to serving others and his love for Ohio agriculture. He served his country in Vietnam and supported Ohio farmers through his many leadership roles in public service, including the Ohio State House, Ohio Department of Agriculture, and the USDA Farm Service Agency. In addition, he gave back to his local community as a mayor, school teacher, and church leader.
You know, if there's one overriding theme to Steve and his life, was that he was a people person. He loved people. He loved to be where people were, doing whatever, singing, doing Sunday school, teaching. You know, he was involved in everything.
A Shelby County native and Vietnam veteran, Steve earned the Bronze Star with Double Oak Leaf Cluster and the Army Commendation Medal before beginning his lifelong career of service, including serving as mayor of Botkins, senator for Ohio District 12, director of the Ohio Department of Agriculture, state executive director of the USDA Farm Service Agency, and later as executive director of the Ohio Farmers Union. As a state senator, Maurer championed the linked deposit and the amusement ride safety programs. He later led the Ohio Department of Agriculture, helping create the Grain Indemnity Fund, Ohio Grape Industries Program, and the state's first organic standard of identity, naming the Ohio Ecological Food and Farm Association as the first organic certifier.
Well, first of all, he was a genuine, and he genuinely believed, and he was curious. He was always curious. I think in agriculture, we tend to do what we did. And Steve was never that way. He was a person who looked forward. He explored all kinds of avenues and opportunities. And as I said, he prompted the idea to create a farmer's market that allowed the sale of Ohio wines.
Steve served as Ohio's state executive director for the USDA's Farm Service Agency under two presidents, overseeing implementation of the Farm Bill and expanding farm loan access. He also helped launch the Lake Erie Conservation Reserve Enhancement Program.
He was about Ohio agriculture. He was about all that we could be.
I know how important rural Ohio is to our country and rural America is to our country. And Steve understood that, and Steve, through his whole adult life, advocated for people in smaller towns, advocated for rural Ohio, advocated for farmers, knew how important that was to our national interests and to people's day-to-day lives. But Steve reminded all of us in public office how important rural America, how important rural Ohio is. And he lived it and empathized with it and advocated for it, perhaps better than any public advocate that I know.
Steve is remembered as an avid promoter of Ohio products and completed many trade missions to benefit Ohio businesses and farmers for generations to come.
Because to him, there was no better. All the best things came from Ohio. He was just totally immersed in Ohio and its farmers, and just wanted to see them get the kudos and the accolades that they deserved on an international market.
Steve received many awards and recognitions through the years, including the Ohio Ecological Food and Farm Association Distinguished Service Award, the Ohio Farm Bureau Distinguished Service Award, and Legislator of the Year Award from the American Legion of Ohio. Beyond his many accolades and achievements, Steve was defined by his devotion to his family and his deep, genuine care for others. He and his wife, Amy, were married for 44 years before he passed away in 2022. Together, they raised 3 daughters, Jennifer, Annalise, and Sylvia, and became proud grandparents to 2 granddaughters.
And so he was a wonderful family man who understood, bottom line, it comes down to family, okay? Job, yes. Career, yes. Passion, yes. But family is the most important thing, and he really understood that.
He lived a life worthy of appreciation, that he tried. He didn't always succeed, but he always tried, and he put his whole heart into everything he did. He always listened. He didn't always agree, but he always listened.
Always ready to lend a hand and offer his steadfast support, Steve was a committed agriculturalist, devoted partner, and a joy to work with. Knowing him wasn't just a privilege, it was an honor. The Ohio Agricultural Council is proud to welcome Stephen D. Maurer as a member of the Ohio Agricultural Hall of Fame.